everyone. Welcome back to the Creatively Thinking podcast. Join Carolyn Botello as she uncovers the inspirations behind some incredibly creative minds that are orbiting our local communities. So hello, Erica. It's wonderful to meet you. Well, digitally. I've been researching you and I wanted to ask you about your creative practice. So let's do a deep dive. So yeah, you are a contemporary Canadian landscape artist who paints using a couple of styles. One you call Nouveau 7. Can you share with our audience how you came up with this name and what the style represents for you?
Well, hi, Carolyn. Nice to meet you too. So, Nouveau is a reference to the Art Nouveau movement, which was everywhere in the late 1800s, early 1900s. It was in art, furniture design, advertisement, jewelry, architecture, and it even influenced our own Group of Seven. So, our Group of Seven artists, a lot of them worked in advertisement and stuff, and they used to use Art Nouveau in their advertisements. So, I just love it for its flowy lines and organic twists and curls. It's plants and flowers entwined around faces. And if you've never heard of the Art Nouveau, it's just a Google search away, obviously. And I encourage anybody who's listening to look it up because it's just well worth your while. The Lord of the Rings, the Elf Kingdom was filled with Art Nouveau design. So it's pretty awesome.
But yeah, it is a really, really cool movement. That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, the 7 comes from our Canadian Group of 7.
Mm-hmm.
So they were more of a group of 12. I wouldn't say it was only 7, but the original group was 7 people. And yeah, they were trailblazers, literally and figuratively. They were kind of hacking through our rugged mountain trails and finding hidden spots in canoes and just trekking all over Canada. And yeah, I love their impressionistic styles, and they just offered a new vision of what landscape can be, which is so cool.
Mm-hmm.
They cut their own path through art, and yeah, I'm proud that they were Canadian for sure.
Yeah, they're amazing. So yeah, you say group of 12. I thought it was group of 8, but there's 4 more I don't even know about. You're gonna have to tell me.
Yeah, I have a list if you want.
All right. Yeah, we'll talk about that after. What initially led you down this path as a career choice? When you first started, was it working with your hands, your emotional insights, or something else?
I think it just was so soothing to create. Like, I grew up with mom and dad that were both pretty creative. Like, my mom was a quilter and my dad made jewelry and woodwork and stuff. So I think it just came naturally to me. And it just made me feel peace anytime I would sketch something or just sit quietly and draw. I was always the happiest for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is a really sort of peaceful kind of activity. As an artist who obviously loves landscape, would you say your love for these beautiful pictures started with form, lines, or the color they represent when you first capture these images?
You know, I don't think I ever really thought about it too deeply. I'm not for art for me. Form and line, obviously, you need that to make something interesting, right? So I would say it's kind of a combination of everything. And my design school as part of it, just the line work I really enjoyed, and I've always liked that part of it. So yeah, I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, it sounds like, well, you love all of it, but then it sounds like
Yeah.
the lines, and then the rest kind of came after kind of thing.
Yeah, you know what I started with a lot of pencil work, so black and white.
Yeah.
And there's this idea of no tan, which is the light and dark balance in a picture. And I think it is so important. If you can turn your colored landscape into a black and white, you will be able to see exactly what's wrong about it. And I love that. I love that black and white can really show you whether it's a good composition or not, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of like the blueprint of being able to, yeah, detect what's going on.
Hmm. Or you flip the painting upside down and you can usually see too.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have to take our, this is what a thing looks like out of the equation, and then we
Yeah.
can see it a little bit more clearly.
Yeah, it can take over.
Hmm.
When you attended an art school in Denver, when you were younger, would you say there was a similarity or difference in how Americans understand art? Do they understand Canadian art, or do they focus more on principles and techniques more than historical context?
I'm going to plead the fifth on this one. And I actually went to school for design, but it was fashion design to start. So I actually have a degree as a fashion designer. Um, that's where I started because I said, okay, I don't want to be a starving artist. I'm going to focus my attention on a field.
Mhm.
And then after I was finished, I realized, yeah, it's not a total fit for me because the sewing part I wasn't super fond of. And then everything, like I finished my degree in Vancouver,
Mhm.
but everything in Vancouver at the time was costume design. And I loved the haute couture and all the evening gowns, but I didn't love the idea of moving to a big city to pursue a career as a fashion designer. It was just so intimidating to me. So I actually decided, okay, I'm just going to go back to being a starving artist because I love it. Like I was happy. It didn't matter how much money I was making. It was more I made enough to pay the bills and then I could do art on the side all the time. So if you're doing what you love, it just feels just it's a happy place, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. How would you say being a teacher has enhanced your practice as a visual artist? Have students taught you a new way of looking at your own work, or have you primarily found sharing your experience has been gratifying in a different way?
I have had the opportunity to be in classrooms with kids, doing art with kids, and that is so fun. I can't fathom doing it every day as a teacher, full-time teacher,
Mhm.
because the energy that you need to bring every day to that situation is mind-boggling. But for me, I believe personally that we can learn something from every person we meet, whether it's just simply to avoid that person that's still learning. So I love the experience of meeting new people and seeing what I can learn from them. So I wouldn't say
Mhm.
that I'm the traditional style of teacher because I'm self-taught. So a lot of what I
Mhm.
know is instinctual now. Put it's hard to say, okay, this is why this composition doesn't work sometimes when I just know it instinctually, right? But yeah,
Mhm.
lots of studying on my own, we'll say.
Yeah. There's no harm in just being self-taught either. There's a lot of great artists that are self-taught.
Yeah, it's fun. It's like you're paving your own way.
Yeah. Yeah,
And it was
exactly.
funny because in design school, because we were all learning the same techniques at the same time, you have this overlap. So people's creative expression almost looks the same to a degree. So it almost stunts your ability to find your own voice because you're learning these techniques at the same time and you're so focused on these specific things that it kind of takes a little bit of your own creativity out of the process, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and you're not allowed the room to really find your own identity because you're all at the same level and you're all doing the same thing. I see what you mean.
Exactly. Yeah.
Have you found there to be any difference in your creative practice when you were living in Denver compared to Canada? Have you tried living in the country and noticed any differences compared to the city in subject matter, medium, scale, etc.? Although technically, I don't even know if you're in a city or if you're in the country.
Well, I'm actually in Kelowna, which is in BC, and it's just a
Hmm.
smaller city, but it's beautiful here. Um, I grew
Hmm.
up in the country, so I find for myself that's where I feel the most comfortable. Like I I do like trees and plants and just going for walks in nature, you know. But
Hmm.
city life is just so fun too. I lived in Vancouver for about 5 years, and it was just this
Hmm.
bustle, and it's like there's an electricity in the air, right? So I like both. I like both. I feel like
Hmm.
all experiences are valid and there's something exciting around each corner. So I'm not sure if that
Hmm.
answers the question, but I don't know about the differences, you know?
Yeah, like you mentioned that you sort of understand the difference, like the hustle and the bustle and then the quiet. But I mean, yeah, there's you enjoy both, which is good.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's room to grow with both of them.
Yeah. And Denver was beautiful. It's such a beautiful city and there's so many mountains around and although you do get a headache when you're first there for a while because it's the mile high city.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I guess there's similarity with the mountains in BC too, right? So that's kind of
Yeah.
nice.
It's yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned in your website using a variety of mediums over your career. If you were stranded on an island and could only use three mediums, what would you choose to use and why?
Oh, this is such a mean question to ask an artist. Because we love the creative process, I like all of it. But pencil probably would be my first, and then watercolor, just because they're simple.
Mhm.
But is there an Opus store on this island, or like, is there, what's on the island? Maybe that would help me decide.
No, I don't think there's
Oh,
anything. I
there's
think you're
nothing,
just
just
allowed
me
to have
and my
three
pencil
mediums.
and paper.
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably would. I would go back to pencil. It was what I started with. It's so simple, right? And yeah,
Hmm.
I just fell in love with that. I do like black and white. I like just being able to pull something out. If you can get the shading and actually get a black and white picture to look good, that's quite a feat in
Hmm.
and of itself. So
And then two more, right? So you have pencil, watercolor, and then what?
oh, probably acrylic. I really enjoy it. I like that it dries fast enough that you can kind of keep going.
Hmm.
You don't have to wait. But oil is also just really exciting to work with. And one day I hope to get back into oil painting and do more portraits and stuff like that.
Hmm. And those are three very different mediums, which is nice, right? Pencil, watercolor, and acrylic. Yeah, like because one's plastic, one's lead, and then one's water. So it's very different. Yeah. How have you found music to be a part of your creative practice? Does it help you develop your ideas into linear images, or do you prefer a quieter painting process?
Okay, so I love music, but if I have, say, if I'm listening to rhythm and blues, I want to get up and wiggle about. So it's really hard to paint when I'm moving around.
Yeah.
So I literally have to keep the music more background music, or uh, I listen to books on audio or podcasts or therapists talking, like Dr. Romani. She's awesome. So I do like to just listen to what information is out there on a variety of subjects and learn something while I paint.
Hmm.
It's quite fun.
Rather than the distraction of music, because it,
Yeah,
yeah.
and that's it is like for instance, I took oil painting when I was 13 And she always played classical music, which I love. So I don't have, there's nothing wrong with it. But a violin solo will definitely distract me. We'll say
Yeah.
that that squealing sound. I'm not so good with the violin, but piano, yeah, I could listen to that a lot. So
Yeah, that's not.
it definitely changes my painting abilities if I listen to certain musics, we'll say.
Yeah. And we'll be right back. When you were developing your creative practice with the Nouveau 7 style and acquiring your clients, did you have any entrepreneurial influences or did it happen more organically?
My mom was more of a business person. She worked for a variety of companies when we were growing up. And so I think I have an entrepreneurial side to me, and I do a lot of research. So before I even chose what genre I was going to do, I did research on, like what do galleries want? What sells? What do people like having in their homes? Like
Mm.
if we don't know what people are needing, how do you meet that need? And I love art, so I don't mind adapting to the market. That's totally fine for me. Some people feel like that's maybe a sellout, but for me, it's more, you know what? Supply and demand is really important. If you can make a living at what you love to do and adapt a little bit, then you're going to be further ahead than the person who says, no, I will never paint this, or, So I love portrait work, and actually one day, hopefully, I will be getting more into it. I'm working on some figurative paintings right now that are like kind of women's faces with the Art Nouveau style around them.
Mhm.
And this is something new for me, so I'm really excited to present these at one of my galleries in soon to be. But yeah, I think you've got to do your research. And each gallery has they represent certain artists, and if you're not a fit, you're not a fit. Like
Yeah.
you got to do the research for yourself and say, okay, this gallery looks like maybe it'll be a fit for me, and then read their instructions on how to submit a portfolio, right? So just take the time and do it their way and be respectful. Obviously,
Mhm.
you got to be kind to people or you're not going to get very far in life, but
Yeah, and galleries can be very specific, right?
definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not an abstract artist, but I'm starting, like, that's another thing that I've been playing with lately, and I'm finally happy with them. I've never been able to do abstract art, period. Never. My brain just is too analytical. I just am not like, it's just very hard to just, okay, go crazy. But I really am enjoying it, and I've kind of come up with what I feel is a good representation for me for abstract.
Mhm.
And it's funny if you look at the group of seven, if you can look for their abstract art, they're not great. I
Yeah.
shouldn't say that, I'll probably get some hate, but
Well, it's
look
what
them
they
up.
thought, right? What was their
Yeah.
version of going abstract, right?
Yeah. And that's what I needed to come up with something that I was comfortable with and felt like represented me and was still beautiful because I feel like if you have art on your walls, it should make you feel good.
Yeah.
When you look at something that's in your home, it should make you feel peace
Hmm.
and calm and happy when you see it, not oh anxiety. It shouldn't cause you anxiety.
No, yeah. And what's that woman that Marie Kudo or whatever that says that you if you have to everything in your home, you have to love it. You know, if you look at it and you don't love it, then it's got to go.
Marie Kondo, I totally know who you're talking about. I actually
Yeah.
do my clothes in my drawers and my closet
Yeah,
is
that's
like
good.
my colors, so everything is organized. It's so bad. Ah, funny. She's just, yeah, it's so nice. It just makes me feel like, huh, I'm organized. Yeah,
Speaking of the group of seven, does your
great.
style mimic one of the group of seven artists or more of the group as a whole? If you had to choose a group of seven member you cherish the most artistically in style and technique, which would you choose?
Okay. It's hard because they're all really great for
Hmm.
different reasons. Um, but I love so many of the Group of Seven. Franklin Carmichael, he was
Hmm.
just awesome. He was
Hmm.
consistently great. And Autumn Hillside is one of his paintings that I fell in love with.
Hmm.
It's just beautiful. If you have a chance, look it up. Lauren Harris is more stark, we'll say,
You
but he was
think?
great
Oh my
too.
gosh. I thought I really liked him. That's me though.
Yeah. And then Barley, I loved for his portraits, and Holgate was great for portraits. But probably my all-time favorite Canadian Group of Seven artists was AJ Casson. He's phenomenal, and if you've never actually looked up his work, it's just oh, so beautiful. He did a lot of watercolors, and he just they're charming. Like you can't not love them. Yeah, and consistent. Like he's consistently great. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Well, actually, one of the artists that I've interviewed, she actually met A.Y. Jackson.
No way.
And
How
when she
cool
was
is
when
that?
she was a kid, I was like, oh my gosh, that's these people are the Group of Seven. They're like legend. They're like myth almost. Like they're so not even human anymore. If you're Canadian anyway, that's not what I think of. They're just like gods almost, right? So
Yeah.
when she said that she met one of them, I was like, oh my gosh, wow,
So cool.
yeah. Being a Canadian landscape painter, has it brought you a specific style of client? Is there a way to generalize those who appreciate Canadian geography? Or have they turned into friends? Or have you maintained a professional relationship?
That is a big question. I would say I think people fall in love with a painting when it feels familiar to them. Like if they go, wow, that feels like the lake I grew up going to in the summers with my family, or oh, that tree just makes me happy to look at, or that sky, right? So I think uh, as to a specific client, I don't think so. I think that if people fall in love with my work, they could be anybody. I don't know that a specific client. I mean, they have to like landscape, I guess. That could be. And friends wise, I'm a bit of a hermit because I'm painting a lot. But I love people. So if I meet you in person, we could be friends instantly, kind of. That's how I am. And but I definitely am in the moment. So once we're not in that moment together, you might be on the back burner of mine. Not intentionally, just simply that's just how I am. I think everybody's different. Some people live in the future, some people live in the past. I'm sorry for them, but I'm more of a
Mhm.
in the now person. And I'd like to be friends with every collector that has collected my work because I appreciate it. I mean, it's supported me and it makes me go, I can still paint, I can keep going and I can keep doing what I love if people love it. It just makes you feel like you're friends already because they appreciate you. They know you in a way. And then to be a part of their home, that's such an honor. So yeah, I'm very happy to have whatever relationships I can get with my collectors and my clients for sure.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. Being a painter of stylized landscapes, how have galleries treated you and your work? Have you found other painters that have also been influenced by the Group of Seven? Have you learned from them or viewed them more as competitors for similar clients?
Um, so with galleries, I've had wonderful relationships with the people that show my work. Like so my galleries, I am very happy with my galleries. So and they are happy with my work. So they wouldn't take me on board, I don't think, if they weren't. So as for that, yeah, that's a wonderful thing. And then have you found painters? I think a lot of Canadian artists are influenced by the Group of Seven. I don't know if you could find one that wouldn't be influenced by the
Yeah,
Group
yeah,
of
I guess
Seven,
that's
to
true,
be
right?
honest. I think it's just part of our
Yeah, yeah.
heritage now.
Part of who we are,
Uh,
yeah. Whether we like it or not.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I don't think you can grow up in Canada and not have a little Group of Seven in your blood. And have you learned from them or viewed them more as competitors? I always go by I learn from people. If I can learn from an artist, like if I see an artist on Instagram and I'm like, oh, that's so beautiful, I will say, that is so beautiful, amazing. Like, thank you for sharing. Because we're all in this together. We should be kind and considerate to each other and encouraging each other as artists. It's already hard enough to make a living as an artist. Why would we ever try to compete or like push each other
Yeah.
down, you know? For me, that's how I view it. I think we got to encourage and lift each other up because art is something that can heal your soul. Like we got to keep people going and working towards that kind joy and
Hmm.
peace, right?
Hmm.
So I would never see another artist as a competitor. If they sell a painting, I'm celebrating with them, you know?
Yeah, as you said, we're all in this together. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's no sense of competition. It's we're there to support each other. You're right. Exactly.
But I have seen that. I have seen that sense of competition. And I mean, I think people can get frustrated if they aren't selling their work. But I always think if if something needs to be
Hmm.
tweaked, you got to have the humility to say, okay, I can
Hmm.
do better and keep working at it. Like I've practiced art my entire life, like thousands and thousands of hours have
Hmm.
gone into it. I'm good now, you know, but I still have
Yeah.
stuff to learn. I'm not perfect and I still see art that is like, wow, you know,
Yeah.
but I'm happy. And I know it's a process, but I feel like it's a process that you will keep learning until you die. Like I don't think you will ever be perfect at art,
Yeah.
if
No,
that makes
I see what you
sense.
mean. It's just yeah, it's all constant, something you need to constantly practice to just get better at it and just
Yeah, and trees are hard.
yeah.
Trees are
Yeah.
tough. I'm getting better at trees, but boy, when I first started drawing like painting trees, it was a challenge.
Yeah.
And sometimes mixing colors is hard. Sometimes you're like, okay, that's a weird blue. How do we
Yeah.
get it? And it's trial and error for me, right? But
Mhm.
yeah, it's
Yes.
it's a process,
Yes, it
we'll
is a
say.
process, that's for sure. Well, that's it. We got to the end of our questions.
We're done.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it was so fun to talk to you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was fun talking to you as well. Do you have anything else or anything else you'd like to say about your creative process before we go?
I'm technically challenged. This has been like one of my toughest
Hmm.
learning tech and just to do it right is very hard for me. And it's funny because I am 50 years old this month and I didn't grow up with tech, right? I didn't grow up with hardly any electronics. And so for me, it just feels hard. And I know I'm supposed to be posting more and I know I'm supposed to be, you know, sharing my experience, sharing my process, but I'm just intimidated by it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's something I need to learn for my just artistic expression and just to like let people know who I am. I
Hmm.
know I'm just nervous about it, but I like connecting with people. It's just I'm terrified of and I have like my friend
Hmm.
Julia Veenstra. She's an amazing Canadian artist, and she's a mentor to me. And yeah, she's always Erica,
Well,
you
see,
gotta
there
get
you go. You got
close.
somebody encouraging you there, right
Oh,
there.
I
That's good.
know,
Yeah.
I know. She's so wonderful. So yeah, encouragement. I need to practice a little bit. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so if I don't know how to do something very well, it's like very daunting for me. So
Hmm. And I think you're doing pretty good with all the stuff. You say you're not out there, but you've got quite a bit out there still. So I think you're doing pretty good. I mean, yeah, maybe you can do a little bit more, but so can't we all, right? So
well, thank you. That is kind.
yes,
That
yeah.
is kind encouragement. Thank you so much. I'll take it. But yes, I do. I have lots to learn still. And yeah, I'm gonna hopefully get my voice more
Mhm.
out there and be online a little bit more because I am very friendly. I think people just I'm kind of in an enigma right now just because I am a little quiet and hermity, but it doesn't mean I'm not friendly.
No, no, it's okay because the last artist I was talking to was telling me that as artists in general, you need to be doing 50% administrative and like social media stuff and as well as your artwork. And I'm just like, wow, who does that though? That just sounds like a lot, like because then you've also got your family and your pets and your kids and your life, and then and then you've also got to do your artwork. It's like, and you're gonna find 50% of time in there, really? That just sounds too much.
I don't give 50% of my time to but some I do need to give a little bit more of my time, but I just find it can be overwhelming. And sometimes I need a tech
Yeah.
break. So I've kind of been on a tech break for about a year now. I've just not posted a lot. Like I do a little bit, but not a
Hmm.
lot. And so yeah, I'm kind of gearing up to start again and wish me luck
Well,
because
good luck. Good luck. Well, no, like what I've been hearing is like you just devote like I don't know, like half an hour per day or something, and then see how much you can get done in that amount of time, and then just like add a little bit here and there, right?
right. Yes.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
And get your banking done and get your bills
Yeah, I
paid
mean, on
and
top of
all.
everything else, right?
It's just everybody's different and we all have unique qualities.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful to get to paint for a living. It's my dream come true.
Yes.
Truly. I I just am so thankful. So thank you to anybody listening that is a fan or that is a collector. I just thank you from the bottom of my heart because I couldn't do it without you for sure.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it is wonderful to be able to be an artist
Yeah,
and be
really.
appreciated. It really is a nice feeling, right?
Yeah. I mean, when a painting sells, it's like, oh, someone actually liked my work enough to say, yeah, I'm going to put that in my home.
Yeah.
And it's just the cherry on the top. To get to paint in and of itself is just glorious because it lifts your spirit and
Hmm.
you just feel at peace. But then to have someone buy it on top of it, it's just like, yep, that's amazing. So very happy.
An even better feeling, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's
And
just
that's
great.
what I hope with these interviews is just another extra layer of just happiness to be part of the creative process, right? Just
Yeah. And the community of creatives.
hmm.
And just and if don't get discouraged. Sometimes I think people need to get off the tech a little bit just to find their own voice. And sometimes I think we can get discouraged if we look at all the great art that's out there and then we realize where we're at in our process, which might be you're learning
Yeah.
and you've got to put in the time and the effort to get better.
Hmm.
So if you give up in that learning stage, yeah, you won't be an artist because you do have to give it time.
Yeah,
You have to you have to give it time. It takes time to get good at anything.
it does. Yeah.
So give yourself the chance to get good. Give yourself time. And be okay to be a starving artist for a while. It's okay, you
It's
know?
part of the process, right?
It's part of the process. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks again for being a guest on today's show, and yeah, maybe we can touch base in the future and see where you're at.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to meet you, Carolyn. And thanks for doing
Yeah.
this. This is good for me.
Yeah.
Like I said, a tech challenge. This is good for
Well,
me.
it worked out, right?
I'm aware. I'm aware of my limitations, but I can get better.
Yep. That's what we can all do, right? We can
Yeah,
all
that's
have the
right.
power to get better.
That's right. So thank you.
You're very welcome. And And yeah, I will put your contact information with your podcast, and yeah, hopefully there'll be more people that will be contacting you about your art.
Oh, thank you so much. And have a fabulous weekend.
You too. You too. Thanks so much, Erica.
Yeah, thanks, Carolyn.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Join me next time as I go down another rabbit hole with another creative professional on their insights, their inspirations, and their ingenuity.